Pogues, he got robbed in this fight. He should have won 29-28. Hadzovic, he kind of lost his just like bum rush where he just goes out in the first minute and just tries to take your head off. He's just like the ultimate point fighter. He's kind of just like the ultimate decision burger. It definitely deserves the title next. And you know what? I'd say, is he going to be the champ? UFC Saudi Arabia, Adesanya versus Imavov. It was an early one. Maybe a lot of you guys didn't watch it, but we're going to recap it. Imavov just knocked out Israel Adesanya with a crazy overhand right. It was crazy that he finished him. Is he a new title contender? Is he going to be the new champ? Let's get into it. First fight up, Hamdy versus Pogues. I'd say that Pogues, he got robbed in this fight. He should have won 29-28, unanimous. Hamdy, he had a really good first round where he got in the clinch, got a really nice trip, really showed his wrestling, and his wrestling is really good. He's got some credentials. His wrestling was a lot better than Pogues, but he just decided to just throw one punch a minute in the second and third, didn't go for any takedowns, got jabbed up by Pogues. Pogues didn't do too much, but honestly, he was just more active, threw more strikes. And I think that he definitely got robbed in this one. Unlucky, but on to the next one. Next fight up, Bogdan versus Lucas. Lucas, he's honestly looking really good. He has some really nice kicks, and he has pretty good distance control, but he honestly just like lacks a little something. He has the skills. You can see that his striking is pretty good. Bogdan was just coming at him at a good pace. He kept the pressure on. He was relentless. He kept going for takedowns, and honestly, the difference maker in this fight was the wrestling. He ended up getting Alexander down on the ground. He ended up dropping him down in the second round after he lost the first round. Dropped him down, ground and pounded him to a victory. And honestly, I'd say he probably won't go too far in the UFC, but he looks like he has good intensity. He has good pressure. I'd say his skills are lacking a little bit, but honestly, he can definitely get some wins in the UFC, and especially against people he can just crack and break like Lucas. Good win for Bogdan, especially on a debut, and got a finish, so good performance from him. Next fight up, Jasmine versus Silva. Silva, I honestly thought initially that Silva was pretty good odds, but as the fight went on, Jasmine was just way too much for her. The pressure was too much for her. She ended up gassing Silva. Silva definitely had her moments. She had some submission attempts that were pretty decent and looked like they possibly could get something, and she's really good at submissions, but Jasmine just kept going for the takedowns, kept landing good ground and pound, winning on the feet, winning on the ground, getting the good ground and pound, and she just dominated this fight. I'd say that she is looking like a good contender. She has a lot of wins recently. I'm pretty sure she's like on a 5-fight win streak. Last year, I'm pretty sure she had like 4 wins, so she's definitely looking better and better each fight. And I'd say that Jasmine, she can definitely do something. I think that she can be a top 10 fighter. I'm excited to see her next performance. Next fight up, Terrance versus Damir. Honestly, this one was pretty cut and dry, and it was pretty obvious what was going to happen. Terrance McKinney, he goes out really hard, whether he submits you or KOs you, or he just gets KO'd or submitted himself. I think that he is that type of fighter where he just thinks that he can just out-grit you and just push the pace where you can't handle it. When he ended up finishing him in the first round, he did look gassed, and honestly, maybe that's why he has that strategy of just going all out and just kind of having that Justin Gaethje balls to the wall style where he gets finished or you get finished, and maybe he's fine with losing, but in this one it was pretty cut and dry just because Damir, he's been out for so long. He's 38 years old. McKinney, he is pretty skilled. He just kind of goes balls to the wall, but McKinney, great win for him, but expected. Next fight up, Shamil the Blob Gaziev versus Petersen. Honestly, Petersen, he ended up getting a takedown in the first round, in the first minute or so. And Gaziev, he just kept throwing the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. He just kept going back to it. Maybe he saw a shot, and he ended up getting that shot. He landed a nice, clean punch, dropped him, landed around the chin. Dropped him weird, but he threw out his mouthpiece once he realized the fight was over. Good win for Gaziev. The Blob continues. Maybe this is the Blob title run. I'm not sure, but I'd say that he definitely stepped it up with the finish here, but I wouldn't say that this means too much. Next fight up, Naimov versus Kaan. I'd say that Naimov, he had a 30-27 victory. I'd say that he won each round. The second round was pretty close, but I'd say he just looked better in the striking. He had some good wrestling moments. It was kind of an underperformance from him. I think that he should have definitely destroyed Ofli a lot more than he did. I think that he could have finished him. He did look like he dropped him in the second or third round. I'd say Naimov, he's beaten a lot better people than Ofli. Ofli is debuting in the UFC. He was in the Ultimate Fighter, had some losses. didn't look crazy good in his wins. He kind of used his wrestling to do that. And I'd say in this high level, Naimov, he's already faced people like Wood, taking him down, defended his takedowns. And I'd say that this should have been an easy win. And it was an easy win for him, but I'd say he just didn't look as dominant as I wanted him to, or I thought he would at least. But good win from Naimov. Another one ticked off, but I think there was a bit of an underperformance from him. Opening the main card, Ziam versus Mike Davis. Honestly, I was feeling pretty good about Davis just because Ziam, he has been immune to getting taken down and controlled, and Davis has some good takedowns, and his striking is pretty decent as well. He did end up cracking Ziam a little bit, but I'd say Ziam, before the fight started, he came in locked in. He looked good. In the first round, he was just boxing him up, piecing up Davis. Davis was pulling guard. And honestly, it was looking bad for him. Davis ended up turning it around in the second round. I'd say that second round was really close. They did end up giving that to Ziam, but I'd say that was a bit rough because I feel like Davis probably edged it. He cracked him in the second, got some takedowns, got his back, put him in some nasty positions. He had a nasty calf slicer on him, and then he ended up bending his knee like so far backwards, and commentators were saying that he's really flexible, but that was just like some outrageous stuff. That's like only like some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu flexibility right there. For Ziam, he had some good takedowns. He honestly looked really good on the feet, looked really good on the ground, and this was a great performance from him. Honestly, I think this is a really good win. He looked great. He honestly is mixing up his game, got some wrestling going, got some really good striking. Looks like he has decent power as well, so I'd say a great win for Ziam. He's looking like a good contender. Even though this is a tough weight class, I'd say that he is looking like a good contender. Maybe he can get his way into the top 15. Next fight up, Vinicius versus Saeed. Saeed, I'd say in the first round, he was getting pressed up on, but he had some crazy head kicks and crazy calf kicks. His kicks are honestly really good. It's hard to tell and predict on what he's doing. His striking is pretty good. Vinicius, he kept putting the pressure on. In the first round, I'd say that he dropped that first round. Second round was closer, but I'd say that he also dropped that second round just by getting outstruck. But he honestly was trying to get his wrestling game going. He got some takedowns. I believe he got 3 takedowns in this fight. And in the third round, that was definitely his best round. Saeed and Vinicius, they looked completely gassed, and it was a complete tiring round in the second round. Third round, Saeed looked like he was just gassed. He looked like he was huffing and puffing for air, and I'd say that the visual was probably the reason why he lost this fight, because the second round, he did more damage. He had some takedowns and some control, but I'd say that he just looked tired, and that was kind of similar to when Merab beat Umar. I feel like Umar just looked completely gassed, and whether or not Merab was doing a crazy amount of damage or not, it was just the visual of Merab keeping upbeat and moving and pressing forward, and Umar was just looking completely gassed, and that's kind of how it was for Saeed. He just kind of looked gassed, and Oliveira kept pushing the pace, and I'd say Saeed should have won a 29-28. I feel like it was not like super clear, but I'd say it was a close fight, but should have went Saeed's way. But Oliveira winning kind of just proves that he is a dog. He keeps pushing. He's a tough guy, and I'd say that this was a good win for him. Kind of proves that he can mix in his wrestling. He can find a way to win, even though he's hurt, or even though he's losing. And he was saying that he hurt his rib, and he was considering pulling out, and that he couldn't move, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't do anything. So if that is as true as he's saying, that is more impressive as well. It's a good win for him. I don't think he deserved it, but good win for Vinicius. On to the next one. Next fight up, Sergei Pavlovich versus Rozenstruik. I'd say Rozenstruik, he just didn't push the go button. He kept being very wary of Pavlovich's power, and Pavlovich, he kind of lost his just like bum rush where he just goes out in the first minute and just tries to take your head off, where he has that intense, explosive first round. He didn't really have that. He definitely had more of a safe approach. He was trying to get his boxing going a little bit more. He was trying to land more. He definitely found some success in the first round, landed some good punches, but it was only a few. I'd say the second round was pretty dull as well. Ended up getting a takedown, laying on top of him, and then third round as well. And I'd say that Rozenstruik, He is technical and he's got a good jab, but I think he just needs to let his hands go. Pavlovich, I'd say this just kind of just proved that like this was number 4. This is Pavlovich was number 4, Rosenstruck was number 9, and this kind of just showed how much worse both these guys are than Tom Aspinall, John Jones, Kaan, Volkov. It was pretty clear that there's like a big gap between 4 and 3, or even 4 and 2. Even bigger gap between 4 and 2 and 1. But I'd say that Pavlovich got the win in the end, decision, unanimous. And I'd say Rosenstruck, he just really cannot deal with wrestling at all. Even Pavlovich, I think he landed 0 takedowns before this fight, and he landed 2 in this fight. So bad luck for Rosenstruck, but Pavlovich is a powerhouse, so can't really blame him. Next fight up, Paige versus Shara, the Pirate. Paige ended up getting a unanimous victory. I think, yeah, it was pretty clear, but I'd say that the thing that this shows is that Paige, he's really explosive, and he has some highlight reel knockouts, and he does some crazy shit. His jumping jack, his starfish, but he fights so far away that he's just like the ultimate point fighter. He's kind of just like the ultimate decision burger if he's fighting a good striker or just a good fighter. He's been in a lot of boring fights. He fought somebody who's really exciting, whether win or loss, he gets finished or he gets a finish. Kevin Holland went to a decision with him. Ian Gary, not that he is like super of a finisher, but I'd say Ian Gary had to go in for wrestling, and he keeps his distance really well, where it's really hard to hit Paige, and then Paige, he just bursts in every now and then, lands a couple punches, and just point fights his way to a victory, and that's kind of what he did in this matchup. I'd say that it was a 30-27. Each round, he was just landing the better shots and just bursting in and just getting hits off and not getting hit. So good win from Paige. I'd say that Shara, he just needed to unleash and just go balls to the wall for sure, and try to put Paige down, and maybe the ego of not going for takedowns, or I don't know, just pushing the pace cost him this one, and he lost his undefeated streak. On to the next one. The main event, Imavov versus Adesanya. Honestly, Adesanya, he took the first round, honestly came out pretty good, more than he usually is. He had some urgency, had some good kicks, landed some good strikes, outstruck Imavov. Imavov, in the second round, he came out and just knocked him out in the first 30 seconds. It was pretty crazy. I think that it wasn't like a telltale that Israel Adesanya was going to win, but I'd say that this kind of happens a lot with Adesanya, especially recently. I feel like he'll look really good, and he'll look like he'll start to build, and then I don't know, he just like kind of loses it. So I mean, that's 3 losses in a row for him. I'd say the Duplessis loss, he was looking good in that fight, and then just ended up getting finished. I don't know if that was just like he started getting tired and kind of gave up, but in this one, he kind of just got caught. I'd say that it wasn't an early stoppage for sure, but I'd say that he could have gave him more time. I mean, honestly, it's not a title fight, so you can't really blame it being stopped right there. But I'd say that he definitely was still moving around, but he definitely was hurt for sure. So, I mean, I'd say it was a fair stoppage, but you could have gave the boy Adesanya a little bit more hope, a little of a chance to claw back, because we know that he can claw back. We know that he can take a lot, and we know the fighter that he is, but maybe he is diminishing a little bit. It's hard to tell where his career is going to go after this. Imavov, good power. He's finished 2 in a row, I believe. I'm not sure if Cannonier was his last fight or not, but good wins. He definitely deserves a title next. And you know what? I'd say, is he going to be the champ? I'd say he definitely has a good shot of beating Duplessis just because he's a lot more technical. But for Sean Strickland, he honestly got washed in that fight. And Sean Strickland fights pretty boring and just volume and just a lot of nothingburg, and I feel like he just would lose that fight again. It'd be really hard to take Strickland down, and I think that he would just get pieced up. Honestly, Israel Adesanya had some good takedown defense in this fight. Imavov went for a couple takedowns, got stuffed. I think that against Duplessis, he could honestly work him a little bit, and he definitely has the urgency and power to try to finish Duplessis, but Duplessis is an absolute dog. He keeps pushing. I think that as bad as Duplessis seems, he is that good. The fact that he's finishing Israel Adesanya, the fact that he finished Robert Whittaker, these ex-champions, these top guys. He did go to a close fight with Strickland. I think that he could lose that matchup, so I guess we'll see. But I think Imavov definitely deserves the next title shot, especially after the wins he's been having. To quickly recap, first fight we got Abdelwahab by decision. We got that one perfectly right. I think that was a robbery, but we got the first fight right. Alexander by decision was wrong. He got knocked out in the second round. Jasmine Jasudavicius by decision, got that perfectly right. McKinney by first round knockout, got that perfectly right. Gaziev by decision was wrong, but the pick by Gaziev was right. He knocked him out in the first round. Naimov KO in the second round was wrong, but Naimov, the pick was right. He won by decision. Davis by decision was wrong. He got pieced up by Ziam, and he lost by unanimous decision. Nurmagomedov by submission in the second round was wrong. He lost 29-28 unanimous decision to Oliveira. I arguably thought that he won that fight, but it was a close one. Pavlovich by KO in the first round. I did think that he is kind of like a first rounder buzz fighter, but he looks like he ended up winning by decision, so got the pick right, prediction wrong. Page by decision, got that perfectly right. Got a nice little cash out on that one. And Adesanya by decision, he got knocked out in the second round, so unfortunate on that one. So we went 7 out of 11 on picks. That's going to be my UFC recap on Adesanya versus Imavov. Thanks for watching.